Hi, I'm Dr. Hanan Islam, and many of you were involved a few months ago when I received a call from my daughter about a medical emergency. And since then, every time I talk to some of you guys, you're asking me what happened and what the update is. So I thought, what better way to hear about the update than to hear it directly from the horse's mouth? So today I have my absolutely gorgeous, lovely daughter joining me to give you her update in her own words. So Daia, how you doing?
Good.
Good. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what happened with you and how you called me and what ended up happening?
Okay, so I was very fatigued. Maybe 2 weeks prior to that, I was extremely fatigued. I was having abdominal pains, and I didn't go into the emergency room, although I was in pain because I had a doctor's appointment coming up, so I was waiting it out. So one evening, I I was sleeping, but I was in so much pain that my husband woke me up and said, "Let's go to the emergency room."
Hmm.
So we went to the emergency room, and then they gave me some fluids or something and sent me home. And then a few days after that, I was home and I had um, a numbness and I couldn't speak. I felt like I was having a stroke. A
Hmm.
part of my body went numb and I couldn't speak. And then that was when I attempted to send you a text, and it took me like 45 minutes to send a text because the words that I was thinking of and that I was attempting to text, they were coming out just jumbled up. So I could notice that the words were coming up jumbled up, but I couldn't actually articulate what I was trying to say.
Oh.
So at that time, my husband was outside and he came in for something and he noticed, and I was trying to explain to him what was going on. And he was able to get what I was talking about. And at that time, you had did a biofeedback, and you told me to go into the emergency room because from the biofeedback, it looked like I had a stroke. And you said, I don't know if it was at that time or a little later, that you said it also looked like there was lupus.
Right. I saw it at that time, but I didn't tell you that at that time. I told you, yeah, later I told you that because I didn't want to scare you. I just told you get to the emergency room.
So you told me to get to the emergency room. So we went to the emergency room, and this time we went to a different emergency room. And when we went to the emergency room, oh no, actually, that was the time we went to the VA, and they sent us home. And then later on, I don't know, a day or so later, we ended up going to Barnes Jewish Hospital. And
Mm.
when we went there, I was admitted. They checked my blood, and they realized that my blood, well, I was there for a few hours, and they finally realized that my blood count was very, very low. My hemoglobin was low, and they had to get me a blood transfusion.
Mm.
And so they gave me a transfusion, and they were going to discharge me from the hospital, but they checked my blood again and realized that when it raised up, it dropped back down.
Mm.
So this was my platelet count, my hemoglobin, everything. The levels were going up, but they were coming back down. So it was like there wasn't, enough oxygen flowing through. So
Mm.
I was in the hospital for about 3 days, and they couldn't figure out what the issue was. And by this time, you had already sent me some supplements in the mail, and I had started on a program that you had set up for me. And and I was already feeling better, but they didn't know what was going on. So I was kind of demanding to go home because I had been in the hospital and I feel fine now. So they allowed me to go home, and then when I got home a few hours later, some of the tests came back and they diagnosed me with TTP, which is a rare blood disorder. And so they told me that I needed to come back to the hospital right now because with this blood disorder, the mortality rate was 95% if untreated.
Mm.
They were like, if you don't come into the hospital, you have a 5% chance of living without getting this specific treatment for that blood disorder. So I was like, well, I'm on this routine and it seems to be working really well. So let me try to work this out for a few days. And so I took the supplements and I did everything for a couple of days. And then at the same time, my husband was very, he was very scared because the doctors were like, "You're gonna die," So he was like, "Well, I really think you should go in." So I waited for a few days, and I started the routine, and then I went ahead and I went in the hospital, and I did part of the treatment, which was the blood transfusion portion of it. But they also recommended that I take some medicine that would prevent a relapse. And I did not take that medicine. I said I'll just try to continue with the routine that you had given me. So I did the blood transfusion and along with the routine that you gave me, and my blood levels, they raised rapidly. They told me that the average time was at least, well, the minimum time was 9 days. So I did the treatment for 5 days and everything was fine. So I didn't need to continue the treatment. And then I didn't take the drugs. And so that's where it's been a few months. I've just continued to monitor the progress, and my blood levels are all normal right now. So that's what we are.
So let me ask you a question. So so they said that the minimum amount of time was 9 days. What was their course of action? 9 days to what? How much time did they say was the average, and what were they expecting you to? How much time were they expecting you to remain in the hospital?
They didn't have a specific time frame. It was 9 to about 45 days. After the 9 days of initial treatment, you go on, a day off, and they monitor and see how well the progress is. And they said that some people, they treat them as outpatients. After a few weeks, then they go and they come back every week and continue to get the treatment. Some people, everything, their body responds well, and then they might come back just once a month after 30 to 45 days. So it kind of just varies from person to person.
But the intention was that there's a additional treatment that you're supposed to be going back and forth into the hospital to get.
Right. The additional treatment is a pill. It's a drug that they give you, and you take it once a week. And then they monitor you, and that you take that pill once a week, at least for a month.
Okay.
And you end up on the progress longer. So that was the pill that they said was pretty much mandatory, or else you will like have a relapse.
But that's you didn't take that. You haven't taken that.
I haven't taken it, no.
So okay. So now, what about your test results? How many times have you been back and forth to the doctor since then? How many test results do you have, and what have been the results?
So that was originally when it happened, it was May. And then I've been going back and forth to the hospital since June. At first, June and July, it was like every week that I was going back. And then, so we're now in September. It's been like every other week that I just go in my test results. Originally, my platelet count was at 10,000. And the range is, I forget the range. I want to say 100 and something thousand. So, but whatever the range is my platelet count started at 10,000, and then it progressively got higher within those first 5 days. And then after I left the hospital, it got higher, and it maintained into the range. And my hemoglobin was at 5. And that range is like 8.9 to 14, somewhere around. And mine has been within that range, and it maintained. My red blood count is as well. Say it's up. So all the levels have been up since I left the hospital, and they continue to climb after I left the hospital. And then they pretty much maintained their levels since I left the hospital in June. And every time I went back, since I'll say about July when it reached its peak, it's been maintained up until this point. Yeah.
So, so is that normal? I mean, what are the doctors saying? Is that what they expected to see?
Oh, no. When I went to the hospital, they were like, wow, this is unheard of. The lady told me she didn't want to say it was a miracle, but she was like, she said, you're very lucky. She said, you're extremely lucky. This is not normal at all. She said, people normally who have this disorder, they go through way more stuff than you. They have to go through the treatment. She did admit that the treatment, it is very taxing on the body, and it has some very like discomforting symptoms, and it weighs on other organs in the body. So not only do they come back for that treatment, but then they also have to continue to come back for the result of what the treatment is done to the rest of the body.
Right, deterioration of other organs and other systems as a result of the medication.
Right.
Wow. So did you tell her what you have done? Did she ask you what you've done?
The first doctor that was working with me, who she called my phone back to back again, your cell phone, and she's like, please come in. I told her what I did because she asked me originally, and I told her that my mom was going to send me some medication from Las Vegas and that I was going to do this treatment. So she was very curious, and so she asked me, and she's like, wow, she had to admit, like, this has to be working, because the time that she's worked with patients that have this disorder, they've never had these results. The lady I went to when I moved and I saw a different doctor, I didn't specify what I was doing to her, but she did read over my files, and she said, oh, okay, so you were taking some alternate medicine, and I said yes. So, but I didn't specify what all it was.
Great. So when was the last time you went to the doctor?
September 12th.
Okay. And so at this point, what were the last results?
The last results, my everything is very healthy. I also had prior to that, I had a problem with my thyroid. So that was, well, they're not totally correlating that, but they think maybe that has something to do with the initial spark. But so all of that, everything is cleared up. The thyroid was still a little low before, and when I went last time, even the number was up on that as well.
Good. Okay, so now the $1 million question, daughter, are you still on your program?
Oh, of course not.
Okay, see, so everybody, I just want to tell you, this is what we run into when people start feeling better, they start having energy, they come broke down, busted, sick, they're promising, I swear I'll do whatever you tell me to do, Dr. Hanan, no matter what it is, I'll do. Then they'll start feeling better, and so we have now this result.
But the thing is that I am not 100% on my program, but I still have, I do like, I'm on a wave like this, a wave. But when I first did the program, I was like 100% full throttle because, my life was I was in the woods, right? So I needed to get out. So then when I started peeking my head out, I kind of was dropping back, but I could see the difference. I could really feel the difference in everything as well. So then I'm like, oh, wait, hold on. I'm starting to get like a little fatigue. Let me get back on my routine. And then I would get on my routine. And so now I'm kind of like at a happy medium. I don't need to be as aggressive as before, but I still do spirulina, chlorella, I still do my tea, I still do aloe vera. So I am, I'm kind of getting my happy medium now, but not 100% how it was before.
Okay, well, all right, I got that. And you definitely were on a really aggressive protocol, which you don't need to be on that level of a protocol anymore. But now that it's out in the public that you are not doing everything, maybe we should take another look, reevaluate it, and let me update your program and make sure that you're at least taking what you need. Because you took quite a few things for detox. You took some things for your blood to really stimulate the blood and to detox the toxins out, to absorb nutrition. Also, you came here and you did the Quantum Theta Detox retreat, which was, how do you feel about that?
Well, when I did that, I was like a whole new person, so I didn't feel like I needed to, I was like, I'm starting back new, like, a fresh baby don't need to have all of these different supplements and stuff because they're fresh.
Okay.
Really well for me, and it gave me like a whole refreshed body. And at first when I first started dealing with this, I wasn't just physically fatigued, like even my mind and everything. When I would do my studies, it would take me a lot longer to comprehend certain things, that I know before. Wow, why is this thing taking me so long? Why am I having to read it multiple times? So it was a real, not just like physical but mentally taxing as well. So I noticed now that where I can go back and I can read it one time and I could put my studies a lot quicker, so it's like overall you feel like a new makeover.
Oh, good. Okay. All right.
And the mind too.
And I got it mentally and physically. Okay. So I really appreciate you sharing your story. I'm so happy to see that you're doing a lot better. Because this is what I do for a living every day, but I've never had to do this with one of my children. So this was, a real interesting thing for me. So thank you very much for sharing. I'm going to need to see you. So you need to make an appointment and get
Okay.
in here and let's redo your protocol. Okay. Is there anything else that you would like, if there's somebody out there that maybe has the same kind of symptoms or is going through some physical challenge, is there anything else you'd like to say?
Yeah, I would say that that this program and the medicine that you utilize to heal the body, that it's not, we're not against medicine, or I'm not against medicine, because there's a place for that. There's a place, the medicine that we see being practiced in the average hospital, there's a place. If you're in extreme, excruciating pain, if you have these symptoms, it suppresses those things temporarily, which is needed sometimes. But overall, we want a more permanent finish. And that's what it is that your program provides, is a more permanent overall health. So whereas they were saying, hey, well, I can give you these pills and it's going to keep you from having to come back into the hospital. Well, that's not entirely true. You might come back into the hospital for something additional, like the taxing that it puts on some of the other organs and everything. But you might need that temporarily to get a fix right then and there. But then it's going to suppress the pain. It's going to suppress some of the other parts of the body that you wouldn't have to be in that discomfort at that moment. But then you don't want to continue to go through that treatment, because you don't want to have to go to the hospital and be monitored every 2 weeks and then possibly find out, oh, well, this time you go, a kidney failed, oh, we got, you don't want those different things, but you want to be able to go and you see that the health is progressing and progressing, and that you eventually, it's just a maintaining that we just have to do as far as eating healthy and things like that. But so I want people to know that it's not that we're against modern medicine, because there's a place for that as well. But we're more promoting overall long-term health.
Well, thank you very much. That was well said. I think that's a really important point too, because, I am a naturopath, and my whole practice is in helping to balance the body and put the body into a position where it can begin to rebalance and stabilize itself. And pumping toxic chemicals into the body is not, on a long-term basis, that's not the best way to go about it. But your point is very, very well taken. If somebody's in excruciating pain, they may need something just to help them get through the healing process, So that's thank you for making that point. That's a good point. Okay. All righty. Thank you again, Miss Daia Islam. I appreciate your time. And anyone that's interested in learning more, or, maybe getting their own biofeedback to see what's going on with their body. What she described was a biofeedback assessment that I did. You were in St. Louis at that time, right? She was in St. Louis. I was in Las Vegas. It's all done through frequency. So it was long distance. And I ran her assessment, and her results came back, and I saw it indicated stroke and it indicated lupus, which I didn't, this is a label, but it gave me the indication to tell her to get to the emergency room right away. Do you have your test? Do you have copies of your test? Like, we can maybe share if people are interested in seeing the progression with your levels?
I have a disc, so I will upload it and then I will forward it to you so you can post it.
Okay, I appreciate that. All right, of course I'll block. Okay, and I'll block out, in personal information. But if you're interested in having your own biofeedback assessment or doing a phone consultation, just to talk about whatever your personal situation is, please feel free to visit us at the number 4 truehealth.com. That's 4truehealth.com. And you can also call us at 800-234-0997. So that's my little plug. All right, again, Diane, thank you very much. Okay, bye for now.